Hi, my name is Carsten Beinecke, and in this video I show you a detailed description of the new changelog feature in PlantExpressTools, but also in PlantDataManager. In this project I already activated the version and revision feature of Plant Project Manager. This is why we see here version 0. You can do this here under the category settings, and there we have the version revision activated. Then the next step is to activate the changelog feature. To do this, you go to Plant Project Setup, and we have a look at the various options and so-called triggers. So the triggers define when the changes are logged. So maybe first I explain what the changelog actually does. It logs all the changes you make to your project data, all your properties, and you can get a complete history of your changes, and you can search them later in PlantDataManager, as you will see. So the trigger defines when the changes are stored. That can be if you create a version or a revision in Plant Project Manager, if you save a drawing, if you save and close a drawing, or manually. The difference between save and close is simply that some customers do not want to write the changes in the changelog every time they save the drawing with, let's say, Control S or so. So they only want to save the changelog data when they actually close and save the drawing. That's kind of fine-tuning. Then we have the options, and here I will use a picture in the background to explain what they do. Then later I will check them, otherwise the picture goes to the background all the time. So the first one is the history tab here in our plant project, in our properties palette in PlantExpressTools. Later you will see under this tab you get the information when an object was created or stored the first time and when it was changed last. That may be interesting to know. Then the next one is the toggle button we have here. This symbol indicates the changelog feature, and whether or not you want to see the icons you see here, where they indicate that this property has a change or a change history, and with this toggle you can turn it on and off so you don't see that. So that is this, and this one here is these symbols. If you do not want to see them, which is probably unlikely, then you can turn that off as well. And in PlantDataManager you can also get this symbol indicating a history of a property in the data grid. And then in this panel, which shows you the history of, in this case, the number. And if you, by default it's ordered from new to old, meaning that the newest values are at the top and the oldest ones are at the bottom. If you want to have it the other way around, you can switch that. And then, that's more or less it. So I will activate all those. And the most important setting is actually this one. You need to activate or select this in order to have your changes written into the changelog database. And the last one is here, do not log read-only properties. That's really up to you. Read-only properties are typically either, let's say, using some acquisition or some default values you do not want to change, or you use PlantLink or PlantExpressTools calculation, where values are simply mapped or calculated and they will not be changed by a user. Then you could argue, okay, why even log them in the changelog? But in my case, it does not really matter for this presentation. Okay, so these are the settings. And now the first thing I do, it's not important, but for this presentation, I will save the drawing before I make any change. And now you see this little panel or progress panel, which writes the data into the changelog. meaning in this case we have these starting values here, or it could be some default values like the class name, for example. They are all written into the database, in the changelog database. Let's start, well, with selecting the heat exchanger, and we see here in the history tab that this object was created on that time and last changed at the same time, because I did not make any changes since I just saved it. Now let's have a look at the P90 data and let's enter some values. Okay, and the supplier maybe, and we change, does not really matter, however you do it. You can also of course use the assign tag dialog. Okay, now let's save the drawing, and yeah, that's it. The changelog is written, of course the drawing is also saved, and now we see here all these symbols. Of course, yeah, I made a change. If I click on it, okay, there was no previous value, so that's the first value in the history. The same here, the same, well, it was 001 before and I changed it to 3, so we see a history here, and that's about it. Now let's make a change for the size here, for example, and also let's save that, save the drawing again. Now we, for example, have a look, well, first on the line segment. We see, of course, now the tag also has a history, and of course through acquisition the size of the valve also changed. Okay, so that should do it for now. And now let's have a look at PlantDataManager. Or before I do this, I just want to show here the toggle button. If I turn off the history icon, now they are gone and you can turn them on. Okay, so what I want to show is what happens if I restore. Now, so let's say if I go back and I restore, that has the same effect as typing in the value manually. It does not mean that all of a sudden this record or data set will be deleted. It's really a more convenient way of restoring or an old value instead of typing it in. What we see now here is an orange symbol, which indicates there is, well, a history anyway, but this orange means that the change here we have values which have not been written into the changelog database. So I will do this right now by just saving the drawing. So now we go to PlantDataManager and we open the project. And what we will see here is the history icon also in the data grid. If I select this, you see the same icons here as in PlantExpressTools Properties Palette. If you go, for example, to equipment, you see the other ones. Of course, you can only see the symbols here if the columns or the properties are shown. So if I'm here at engineering items, you don't see, only see the changes for these properties. You can also filter the grid so it shows only the records or the objects which actually have a history. You might wonder, why don't I see anything? But again, that's the same. That's the same as I said before. We don't see, for example, in this case, the size property in this view or in this class. So if you click on the object, you see, okay, that's the size. If you go to inline assets, you see it. So it really depends on where you are. But most important is the objects, the records you see here in the grid, no matter where you are, they all have a history. Even if you don't see the icon, then just click on it and you see it. Okay, so what we did in Plant 3D with the Properties Palette, we can do also here. So let's make a change here, and let's change the number. You can make it in the Properties Palette or you can make it here. So I will change it to, well, actually I go in a different way. You see here now the individual changes. I will turn that off so I see all the records. In PlantDataManager we have a new changelog view. If I activate this, I get a complete history of all the changes in my project during the life cycle, if you want. The most important use case is that you search for old values. So let's say I'm searching for, yeah, I started already. So it filters automatically. It may take a few, well, a second or so, but you can type in a value, and now what you see is, okay, yeah, it's used here also, but the most important column is this one. These are all the, well, it says new value, but these are the old values, the previous values. You see all that. So there was a time where the tag was W001, and of course the to and from information of a pipeline segment were changed as well. When that was 001, they also were 001. Then at some point it was changed to, well, 003, which we do not see because we filtered for 001. And then that is the last change. If I click on any record, or in this case the one I'm interested in, I see the current set of data. So now, of course, okay, it's a kind of a coincidence because I went back and forth. But what I can do now, these are the current values. Maybe we search for 100, the size. You can also add another filter and say, okay, also only size. So you are interested only in the in size changes for 100. And now you see, okay, that's the primary line segment. And if you recall, we changed it to 200. So maybe that's a better example. You see that is the old value 100, but currently the value is 200. So what you can do is you can make a change here and change it back. And now it's yellow, of course, like PlantDataManager always does if you make a change. So let's go to Plant Data, to the project data view, and I go to my pipeline segments. You see the change. We also see the orange one because they are not in the changelog. If I click on it, yeah, you see the same thing. So this is how you can use that changelog view conveniently for searching for old values or parts of a value. And yeah, a lot of possibilities to simply review or browse in that data. Okay, now let's save these changes in PlantDataManager and import the changes in PlantDataManager plugin. Okay, yes. The changes are imported, and as you saw, the changes were written. So let's have a look. Now we are back to 100, of course. And now let's have a look at the history. Now we see 100, 200, now we are back to 100. And as the final step, we make a new version of that drawing. To do that, I need to close the drawing. And now I can create a new version and revision. Let's move that here. Next version will be 1. That's now part of Plant Project Manager. New version. And if I now open the drawing again, we see now version 1. And if we now have a look, for example, at the change history here, we see 0 and 1 and all the changes in between. And any new change would be, of course, after version 1, that would be further at the top. Okay, that's a new changelog feature with all the various settings and use cases. If you have any questions, send me an email.